A few years ago, I walked into a bookstore and I came across a defective book that I just knew I had to buy. It was a copy of The Magician's Nephew, or was it? You actually open it up, and it's The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe book inside. So the cover was The Magician's Nephew, the text inside was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. I immediately saw the irony of this, and I just got a kick out of it. This is a copy of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe that has a number 1 on the spine. What I'm getting at, of course, is the infamous Narnia order debate. Yes, there are 2 different orders you can read the Narnia books in. There's the order of publication, then there's chronological order. What happened was, between 1950 and 1956, C.S. Lewis published the 7 Chronicles of Narnia books in the following order. It was The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, Prince Caspian, The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, The Silver Chair, The Horse and His Boy, The Magician's Nephew, and finally The Last Battle. The most important thing to note here is that The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was written in 1950. It was the first book to be published. And The Magician's Nephew was not published until 1955. It was a prequel to The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. And without giving anything away, it gave us a lot of background on the world and the characters of Narnia. And it sort of explained a lot of things in The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Lewis was alive for 7 years after completing the Chronicles of Narnia. Sometime after his death, books started appearing in the UK that were numbered according to the series' internal chronological order, which gives you The Magician's Nephew, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, The Horse and His Boy, Prince Caspian, Voyage of the Dawn Treader, The Silver Chair, and The Last Battle. Once again, most important thing to note here, this has The Magician's Nephew as Book 1 and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe as Book 2. So they renumbered the books in the order they actually occur. This is what we call chronological order. Now, I just have to point out, by the way, that The Horse and His Boy does not take place after Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. It actually takes place during The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. So technically speaking, this is not chronological order. But no matter. Anyway, once again, most important thing to note is this now has The Magician's Nephew as Book 1 and The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe as Book 2. For years, if you walked into a British bookstore, you would see the books listed in chronological order. If you walked into an American bookstore, you would see the books listed according to publication order. So you can obviously see where some of the confusion started to develop. In 1994, HarperCollins took over the publishing in America, and they changed the order to chronological order. So ever since then, it's been chronological order worldwide. So why was this done? Why was the decision made to renumber the books? The HarperCollins editions of the Chronicles of Narnia have been renumbered in compliance with the wishes of the author, C.S. Lewis. So they're saying that C.S. Lewis wanted the books to be renumbered. Those were his wishes. Well, let me just say, I'll have a video later where I go into this in more detail, but for now, this is at best very misleading, and at worst, downright deceptive. Lewis never asked for the books to be renumbered. In fact, Lewis was alive, just like I said, Lewis was alive for 7 years after completing the series. If he really wanted to renumber the books, he certainly could have, and yet he didn't. It's true that Lewis expressed a mild personal preference for chronological order, but he never asked for the books to actually be renumbered. If he really wanted that done, he could have done it himself. Now, if you're not familiar with the series, you might be thinking, well, why not just read them in the order that they actually happen? Doesn't that make more sense? You might think so, but it turns out no. They have changed the number on the spine, but the text itself remains untouched. And because of that, you can just tell it was written in a certain order. There's just no getting around it. For example, if you look at Chapter 7 of The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, there's the famous scene where the children hear the name of Aslan for the first time, and Lewis writes, "None of the children knew who Aslan was any more than you do." Well, if you're reading The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe as Book 1, that makes perfect sense. Yeah, this is the first time I've ever heard Aslan's name. I don't have a clue who he is, just like the kids. However, if you're reading The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe as Book 2, so you've already read The Magician's Nephew. Well, this is pretty confusing because what do you mean? I do know who Aslan is. I met him in the first book. So it makes Lewis look like a writer with a very bad memory. That's just one example of how it really does matter which order you read them in. Like how they were just clearly written in a certain order, whatever the number on the spine says. You just can't get around it. They're written a certain way. That's probably about all I can say without giving too much away. In the next video, I'm going to go into a lot more detail. So if you haven't read the books and you're worried about spoilers, I would not watch the next video. In the next video, I'm going to go into a lot more detail, looking at the books and looking at the pros and cons of each order.